Welcome back, deities, to a Smite 2 God Guide for Athena, the Goddess of Wisdom. Athena is a hybrid scaling magical damage melee tank with strong crowd control and a global ultimate. Though typically played in support, her utility allows her to flex comfortably into the jungle or solo role. Athena has a 3-hit basic attack chain of ×1, ×1, and ×2, with the third auto being AoE and taking twice the animation time. Athena's passive ability is Reach. After using an ability, your next basic attack becomes a ranged projectile. This projectile goes through enemies and walls, as well as deals 1.25 times damage to the first target hit. This enhanced basic attack can critically strike and proc item effects. This passive scales from strength and intelligence. Athena's first ability, Preemptive Strike. Channel for 0.66 seconds, then dash. A quick note here that you can wait as long as you want after channeling the ability before you dash. You can also use other abilities while the dash is channeled. However, canceling the ability means that you will need to rechannel the dash. I am not sure if the other ability usage while the channeled is complete is intentional or not, as it was not a feature in Smite 1, but here's hoping it's just a +1 for Athena for Smite 2. Hitting an enemy god provides you with physical and magical protections. The damage from this ability scales off of your strength. The physical protection scales with your physical protections, and the magical protection scales from your magical protections. This means that the more protections you have when landing Preemptive Strike, the more you'll get in return. Athena's second ability, Confound. Taunt enemies in front of you. Taunted enemies are compelled to walk at you and auto-attack. Enemies taunted by this ability are slowed and take damage, scaling with your intelligence. The taunt duration scales with your total protections from items. This ability is Athena's bread and butter. Used to peel for your teammates and set up for their damage, it is a very high impact and easy to land CC ability. Just make sure that you can survive the taunt.
You have been slain. Deicide.
Athena's third ability, Shield Wall. Create a phalanx of soldiers that deal damage in an area. After a brief delay, the soldiers strike, dealing damage in the area again. Both instances of damage apply a slow. This ability scales with your intelligence. Moving on to Athena's ultimate ability, Defender of Olympus. Athena teleports to the aid of any targeted allied god anywhere on the map. Your target gains a health shield and movement speed upon being targeted. Athena deals damage in an area upon landing. Athena is CC immune during this ability, and if your target dies before you teleport to them, you will still teleport to their final location. The health shield scales off of your maximum health, while the damage scales from your intelligence. Another quick note to add is that this ability targeter can be very difficult to navigate, especially in a team fight. It is very difficult to land exactly on who you want. A quick reminder to all you deities out there, sometimes arriving at the battle is more important than who you land on. So, let's go ahead and start. This is going to be a support build for Athena, the Goddess of Wisdom. As always, a support will need a support starter item to be able to keep up with gold. Both War Flag and Selflessness are good items, but with Athena being as supportive as she is not really as rundown of a character as she is, I would recommend the safety over the aggression of War Flag. Your first support item is going to be Prophetic Cloak. With the range on your reach, it should theoretically be much easier to stack this item than it would on a normal melee support. 25 physical protections, 25 magical protections, 10 cooldown rate. Cooldown rate is important on Athena since our entire kit is based around hitting our number 2 ability, Confound, and taunting the enemy. That passive will help you stack protections and make you very tanky by the end game. The 6% damage mitigation or 12% damage mitigation if you reach a total protections exceeding 350, which we will. The second item is going to be Yogi's Necklace. Making up for the lack of maximum health on Prophetic Cloak, Yogi's Necklace is going to be a very tanky item. 400 max health, 300 max mana, 14 health regen, and 6 mana regen. This will keep you on the battlefield. It will make it to where Between your rotations, you will be healing so that for your next gank, for the next lane that you go to help out, you'll be better suited to do so. Our third item is going to be a staple for support builds in Smite 2. Like it or not, supports are the beads holders in Smite 2. This item grants 45 magical protections, 200 maximum health, and 10 cooldown rate to increase our cooldown from before. The active cleanses you and all allies within 6.4 meters of all CC and grants CC immunity for 1 second. Has an active cooldown the same time as Beads the Relic. Fourth item is going to be an item that can be built earlier in the build to have stronger impact, but is still relevant, even late game. 40 physical protections and 30 magical protections is nothing to scoff at, and that passive, enemy gods hit by your hard CC effects lose 15 magical protections and 15 physical protections for 4 seconds, given that your entire kit is focused around applying a hard crowd control to the enemy. This item was made for Athena. Fifth item is going to be a heavy auto attack counter build. Spectral armor provides 60 physical protections and 200 maximum health. The passive, enemies within 8.8 meters lose 20% attack speed and 20% critical strike chance. With how strong critical strike chance is right now, the odds of the enemy having crit are high, and even if they do not, that 20% attack speed slow will come in handy whenever you taunt enemies, or magically teleport to them with your ultimate. Our sixth item in the build is going to be a flex pick, either between Leviathan's Hide to provide you even more basic attack protections, or if you're struggling against mages and high ability damage, you could always switch this out for an Oni's Garb, which provides 55 magical protections, 150 more max health, 10 mana regen, and a passive that for every enemy god within 8.8 meters of you, you gain a stack of 4% damage mitigation. This stack caps at 3 stacks. This will end up granting you 12 damage mitigation on top of the 12 damage mitigation from your prophetic cloak, making you one very tanky support by the endgame. For your relic, I would recommend the choice between Blink or Phantom Shell. Blink is a very good initiation relic, while Phantom Shell provides your team with extra security and safety. For the jungle, we're going to build a very off-meta, high crit chance reach focus build that, while it may lack items that are very core to Athena at this time, it is a very fun build, and I recommend if you're trying to have some fun to give this build a try. We're going to start off with Bumba's Dagger. First item, we're going to build Jotun's Revenge to get 35 strength and 25 cooldown rate. What we're really looking for here is the cooldown rate. That passive will give you even more cooldown on enemy god kills, where basically the game plan is going to be to try to get as many reach auto attacks off as you possibly can. Our second item is going to be Hydra's Lament. 45 strength, 250 max mana, and 5 mana regeneration. When you use an ability, you gain 30% increased basic attack damage on your next basic attack. This effect is procced by Reach, considering that Reach procs critical strike and item effects. Our third item is going to start our crit chance with Musashi's Dual Swords. 40 strength, 30% crit chance, and a passive. When you critically strike an enemy, you gain 10% movement speed for 4 seconds. In the jungle, that movement speed will be very handy to help you chase down the enemy. Fourth item is going to be a personal favorite of mine, Death Metal. 35 strength, 45 intelligence, and 20% crit chance. With an active, you and your allied gods within 6.4 meters gain 10 plus 1 level strength and 15 plus 2 per level intelligence, and 20 attack speed for 6 seconds. Fifth item is gonna be Deathbringer. 45 strength, 25% crit chance, and a passive, where you gain 25% increased critical strike damage. Our final item is going to be Titan's Bane for all the penetration that we don't have. 45 strength and the passive that grants the shattering effect, granting you 20% penetration. Our relic choice is going to be divided between Beads, Blink, or Aegis. If nobody on your team is any secure, then as the jungle, you are responsible for getting Sundering Arc, though if you can avoid getting Sundering Arc, I would recommend it. Our final build for this guide is going to be a build for solo. We're going to start off with Warrior's Axe as a starting item and upgrade that to Sundering Axe as soon as we can. Granting that our opponent in lane is a physical damage dealer, our first item is going to be Breastplate of Valor, 40 physical protections, 250 max mana, 2 mana regen, and 25 cooldown rate, and a passive that when you lose enough HP, your ability cooldowns are reduced by 1 second. Your cooldowns on Athena are excessively long. Getting those cooldowns as low as possible is the only way you're going to be able to play Athena in the solo lane and have any amount of fun. Our second item is going to be Phoenix Feather, 65 magical protections and 275 max health with an active that will heal you for a large chunk of your missing HP. If your lane opponent is a magical damage dealer, I would suggest you switch these two items, or think about getting Genji's Guard as the first item. Our third item is going to be Helm of Radiance, 60 intelligence and 25 physical protections, with a passive that will grant you more physical protections the more physical damage you take. The intelligence will come in handy to help you clear waves and generally be a nuisance to the enemy team. Without some type of intelligence, you're likely to not deal enough damage, and the enemy will most likely just ignore you. Fourth item is going to be Hide of the Nemean Lion, with how hard you want the enemy team to be focusing your face. 50 physical protections, 350 max health, and 4 health regeneration sure does sound nice, with a passive that will reflect 12.5% of all basic attack damage back to the attacker. Remember, when people are taunted by your 2, they will auto-attack you, meaning that you will get use of that passive. The active also reflects 25% of all damage back to the attackers. This is a 2 active item build, but I would not suggest getting less than 2 active items as Athena in the solo lane. You kind of need the utility to be useful there. Fifth item is going to be Genji's, trying to squeeze in as much cooldown as we possibly can. 45 magical protections, 300 max health, 5 mana regen, and 10 cooldown rate, and a passive that when you take magical damage from abilities, your cooldowns are reduced by 3 seconds. That will be huge for your long cooldowns. Final item is up to you. I'm going to assume that you are doing well at this point in the game and give you Gladiator Shield so you can deal some more damage. 40 physical protections and 150 max health with 10 cooldown rate. That passive, enemies hit by your abilities take 15 plus 25% of your item protections as bonus physical damage. If you feel like you need more tankiness or more survivability, I would recommend building Spirit Robe. 30 physical protections, 30 magical protections, and when you are hit by a hard CC effect, you gain 40 physical protections and 40 magical protections for 4 seconds. As for the relics, solo roll is the only roll where all of these relics should be weighed evenly to see what you may need in this particular match. Do they have strong CC? You may need beads. Do they not have a front line and you're gonna need help just jumping on the enemy's face? Get Blink. Do they have heavy nukers? Aegis of Acceleration. Are you just trying to box in lane? Phantom Shell. Does your team need help securing buffs? Sundering Arc. If you do not know what to choose and you just want to be safe, I would recommend getting either Phantom Shell or Blink. Combat Blink can be used both offensively and defensively, and Phantom Shell will come in handy for your team no matter what. And this concludes my quick guide for Athena, the Goddess of Wisdom. If you like this guide and want to see more content, then please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. I've been your host, Thisia, and I hope to see you all on the battlefield of the gods. You are my friend!